Good morning. Please maintain silence until the meeting begins.
Good morning, Madam President. We're recording.
Good morning. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. This proceeding is being broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Board of Water and Power Commissioners, please say present for roll call. Commissioner BARAD Hopkins.
Present.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Present.
President McCLAIN-HILL.
Present.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady.
Present.
Vice President RUIZ.
Present.
5 board members present and a quorum. Madam President.
Thank you. I want to first apologize for starting the meeting so late. We had some technical difficulties this morning, but we are here and ready to go. And I would also like to simply acknowledge the incredibly significant work of our power system over the last I guess the last week and a half. I mean, it's been extraordinarily difficult time in the city, and the department performed incredibly well under the just incredibly well. And so thank you for that. Next, I would like to exercise the chair's prerogative by taking item K19 first on our agenda, and that is our recognition of and tribute to our board member, Jill Banks Barad Hopkins, for whom today is her last meeting. It comes at marks a particularly poignant milestone for me. It makes me now the senior member of this board. Jill was here when I was appointed and is the only remaining member who was sitting at the dais when I was appointed, and I will be desperately sad to see her leave our dais. I want to will certainly offer each of our commissioners an opportunity to salute our tremendously important board member, but I wanted to begin by reading the resolution in her honor because I learned a lot in its preparation and wanted to share in advance of other comments. Whereas Miss Jill Banks Berard Hopkins was appointed to the Board of Water and Power Commissioners by Mayor Eric Garcetti and confirmed by the Los Angeles City Council on September 11th, 2013, and was reappointed by the mayor and then reconfirmed by the council on June 29th, 2018. And whereas Ms. Berard Hopkins is a recognized civic and business leader and is the first neighborhood council member to serve on the board, and whereas Ms. Berard Hopkins has a long list of civic recognitions that include the Harmon Ballin Award for Outstanding Community Service by the Valley Industry and Commerce Association, FICA, named Valley Leader of the Year by the San Fernando Valley Business Journal, awarded the Most Inspirational Woman in Business by the California Senate and Assembly members, and named Star of the Valley by the Economic Alliance of the San Fernando Valley. And whereas Ms. Berard Hopkins managed her own public affairs firm and developed the original public relations and fundraising strategy for the creation of Para Los Niños, the first child care facility on Skid Row. And whereas Ms. Berard Hopkins has a long history as a leader in the Los Angeles education community by chairing Mayor Tom Bradley's Advisory Committee on Education, serving on the citywide Advisory Committee on Student Integration, and founding the Open School to create the first community-initiated magnet school in the Los Angeles Unified School District. And whereas Ms. Berard Hopkins is a champion and neighborhood organizer for the San Fernando Valley by founding the Sherman Oaks Neighborhood Council and serving as its president for 14 years, and establishing the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils, a coalition of 34 neighborhood councils throughout the valley. And whereas Ms. Berard Hopkins' success and dedication to the community is carried on as a Los Angeles Department of Water and Power Commissioner, promoting water conservation within LAUSD, creating more opportunities for women and minorities to join and thrive at LAUSD, giving voice to residents and customers for LADWP programs and rates, and supporting renewable energy projects for citizens of Los Angeles. And now, therefore be it resolved that the Board of Water and Power Commissioners, on behalf of the management of this department, its employees, and the residents of the City of Los Angeles, thank Ms. Berard Hopkins for her dedicated service to the city and the valley. The leadership and grace she has demonstrated on this board will be deeply missed by all who know and worked with her. Be it further resolved that the Secretary be instructed to place this resolution in the minutes of this board as a permanent record, and that an engrossed copy of this resolution be presented to Ms. Berard Hopkins in recognition of her committed dedication to public service in this city. I hereby certify that the foregoing is a full, true, and correct copy of a resolution adopted by the Board of Water and Power Commissioners of the City of Los Angeles at its meeting held on September 13th, 2022. In just reading this resolution, I am both exhausted and in awe. A lifetime of service, with a through line of supporting and uplifting the most vulnerable and people who are often not seen and overlooked, is just a testament to your generosity. The word grace doesn't even begin to describe how incredible a person, a human being you are. We are in your debt. I had no idea of your involvement with Para Los Niños. That was just stunning to me. I know that you have been a steadfast champion for the people served by this department, never, ever letting an opportunity to raise their interest go by. And I just want to say, Jill, that I appreciate you so, so much, and I'm so pleased to have been your colleague on this board, and look forward to continuing to be in friendship and celebrating you. Thank you for your service. Are there other board members that would like to speak at this time?
Well, I only met you in the last couple of years. I had heard about you, and I appreciate I know we have some friends in common, and I appreciate your leadership, your kindness. I love to watch you, sort of observe and listen and absorb and react, and always in a very thoughtful manner. So thank you very much. I think that healing the earth is an important tradition that many of us hold dear, and so thank you very much.
Commissioner Neiman Brady.
I too was taken aback by the incredible list of accomplishments and contributions to the city. I was aware of some of them, but certainly not all of them. And so, if nothing else, thank you. I would start with, but also I would be remiss if I didn't say that the bulk of the conversations we've had in the past have actually been around family. And I know your dedication to your family, and certainly the conversations we've had about your grandchildren and my children have been very meaningful to me. And so for many reasons, it's clear you will be missed, but I want to thank you for all of those conversations as well.
So I know that our paths have only crossed for a short period of time, but as I was listening to your bio, the word that comes to my mind is Shiro. The amount of work that you've done, not only for this board, you figure 9 years, that's thousands of hours that you have donated to the city of Los Angeles. Working with the neighborhood councils, I was a founding member of my neighborhood councils. That's not easy work. That's very difficult work. And I had no idea that you were involved with Para Los Niños. For people that are not aware of that amazing program, it's helping primarily Latino families in the Skid Row area. So I just want to say it's been a pleasure for this short period of time to get to know you, and I believe in our life, everything runs in seasons and cycles, and as this particular season comes to a close, I know that you'll enjoy your time now, because you don't have to put in the thousands of hours here. And from the bottom of my heart, and as a resident of the city of Los Angeles, I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Adams, did you have a comment on this item?
Oh, I'd love to. Thank you. Jill, I'm going to miss sitting next to you, so I don't know who I'm going to pass notes to anymore. So. We've had quite the conversations over the last few years, and I don't know if people know, but Jill and Ross enjoy going to a lot of the events that we attend, where she knows everybody, and there's clearly royalty in the room. All the politicians, all the activists around town all know who she is, and so we have a long history of sitting next to each other and getting in trouble at dinners. Won't go into the details, but I really enjoyed not just your contributions here, but your friendship and spending time with you in this venue and setting, but also outside of this, at a number of events that we do together. And I will miss you. I remember during the last rate increase, we spent a lot of time at Vank, spent a lot of time at the hospital out there, the meeting room packed with people. And when she calls a meeting, everybody shows up. And they had the Valley Annual Alliance annual meeting at CBS Studios, where I think virtually every politician in town found their way in rush hour out there to say their few minutes of hello to everyone and give a message. And you've been a great convener of people. I know you've been really interested in schools. You're big in the bucket brigade, and we all know about the efforts with the school district and being a lot of school events and dedications. And you've always had the kids and the viability of our schools and improvements both in water quality, which has finally happened with the schools with their change of the plumbing, things that you were a big champion of, improvements to the efficiency of their air and water use and air conditioning and the rebate programs and the partnerships, things that were so important to you that we saw through, and you helped us to focus on that and to have a great partnership with LAUSD. But thank you for what you've done for all of us. Thanks for being a champion for our employees. As the board president said, you've been a strong support of all of us here, and we really feel it. And I think even before it was became as forefront in the news, you're always a big supporter of the women in the workplace, and one of the first people to bring up equity issues. You and Commissioner Funderburk worked closely on that. They're very near and dear to your heart, and also issues of women in non-traditional roles and opportunities. And I think I hope to make some really good headway in that area to make you proud of the work that you were at the beginning of. So thank you, and we will miss you, and I will personally miss you very much. So.
A couple of things. Before taking on more comments, I want to acknowledge the presence of Jill's husband and daughter in the room and to say thank you. Also, I've been here for a few departures, as I've noted, and a rather unique occurrence at this one is the presentation of the congratulations and resolution from the Office of the Mayor, who had it delivered this morning to be read into the record as well. So I will do that. It says, congratulations on 9 years of service. As mayor of the city of Los Angeles and on behalf of the residents, I am pleased to join the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power as they honor and give recognition to you on this momentous occasion on your retirement. I congratulate you on your 9 years of distinguished service and achievement in public service. You've made the city more accessible and transparent and have helped lead the department further down the path of equity. Through your sound leadership, you have given a voice to the San Fernando Valley, to all the neighborhood city councils, and to all customers, promoting renewable energy projects, energy efficiency programs, and water conservation with LAUSD. Thank you for serving the city of Los Angeles with such commitment, poise, and persistence. With best wishes for your future health, prosperity, and happiness, September 13th, 2022, signed, Eric Garcetti, Mayor. Are there others that have comments from the dais before I move to allow our commissioner to respond? Dr. Pickle.
I first met Jill Banks Barad Hopkins through the neighborhood council system. And she was known for having the premier regional alliance, way, way better than any other region. And she was generous in introducing my office to the bank community. And I appreciated that, and the fact that they were a great audience for what we had to say. So thank you, and thank you for all your volunteer time, not just for DWP, but for the Valley Alliance and so many other things.
Thank you. Ms. Barad Hopkins. Jill? Oh, I'm sorry.
Do you want to go ahead first?
They're drawing straws over there.
Oh, I see.
Well, I want to say thank you on behalf of the water system. I know Anselmo, he's really sorry he couldn't be here today to say this, and I'll try to do as good as I can here for him. But we just want to thank you for your strong support for the water system for these 9 years. I know you've done a lot here. I was astounded at the resolution, frankly, but you've done a lot of things for the water system that we really appreciate. And I'm just going to mention a couple that came to my mind is your commitment to education of school children on, making sure they understand the importance of water use, efficiency. And I think that's been wonderful. You have really changed the way we do our outreach and communication on water and making sure that people are aware that there are ways to use less water and save a lot of money. And getting that word out has been really important. And then you've really helped us stay engaged with the community, especially in the San Fernando Valley. You've really changed the way we've engaged, and in specific with the Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils and with VICA, the Valley Industry and Commerce Association. We're much more engaged in it than we were 9 years ago, and that's due to you. And then finally, just expanding the role of women here in the workplace at DWP. You've been a big champion of that. It's been mentioned a couple times before, and that's really changed the water system as well. So there's a lot of things that you've done. Your leadership and your support for the water system over these 9 years has been greatly appreciated. And in recognition of that, we want to present you with this meter clock.
Wow.
So this is a meter that has been taken out of service, polished up a little bit, and fitted with a clock, but this is for you on behalf of the water system.
Thank you.
Sir, Mr.
right.
Wilbur.
Commissioner, so, being part of the department is a very strange and wonderful thing. We've had our ups and downs, our goods and bads. What we always say in the power system, nothing is too good or too bad for too long. Just listening to your bio, listening to everything, you're certainly part of the too good, right? For nearly a decade, you've been here, you've been a constant in here. It's surprising some of the things that you learn at the very end that I had no idea, things that you were part of. So very impressive. We're certainly very happy that you've been part of the sport. So from the power system, we also have a gift here. And essentially, this is in recognition for nearly a decade of service and steadfast commitment to supporting the women and men of LADWP. We extend our heartfelt thanks and gratitude from your friends and colleagues in the LADWP power system. Thank you very much for your service here.
Thank you.
I can assure you that we will have assistance in your departure today with the gifts, since they look like they're heavier than she is. Mr. Adams, is there more from your staff?
I believe I think that's from
Okay,
us. And,
terrific.
it's good the industrial look is popular these days, so you're right. You're very much in vogue.
Jill, do you have any comments
Yes,
today?
I do. As you know, it's never the right time to retire, but it has to be done, and I've given it a lot of thought, and I hate to leave because I've made so many friends here, as you can tell, and passed so many notes. And it's been a lot of fun. And a couple of people I want to mention specifically. On my first day here, which is almost 10 years ago, Reggie came over to me and said, "I'm going to be your best friend." And I said, "Okay, fine." And since then, in 10 years, Reggie has brought when we had a packet, he had the packet undone and put at my place on the horseshoe for me to look at. And if it was here without him bringing it, he would be quite annoyed. You know, who did that? You're supposed to ask me. And I said, okay. So we got into a stage where he would unpack my little roll around bag and bring my packet here, and then the things I didn't want him to see, I would hide. The other thing is that I really appreciated so much the fact that Marty Adams and I became friends, because Marty is really the best. And he and I had lots of laughs together. We did get into a lot of trouble, but that's the way it is. But the thing that I want Marty to know is that he's my hero. That when I had just recovered from my stroke, which was about a week after, and I was walking down the hallway, the commission hallway, I heard him say, "Commissioner, are you okay?" And I turned around and said, "No, I'm not okay. I don't feel well." And he took me down to the infirmary, and Dr. Israel and another doctor examined me and discovered that my blood pressure was about 200. And she called 911 because she said that she couldn't, in good faith, have me work the rest of the day without being in the hospital. And she called 911, and they took me to the hospital, Kaiser, on Sunset Boulevard. The next day, after they gave me lunch and I finished my tray, this nice young man who had brought me the food took the tray and then kind of walked out of the room, and he said, "Did you want something for dessert?" And I said, "Yes, I really would love to have some ice cream." And he said, "Oh, okay. Well, that'll be $1,000. And I'll run down to this corner and I'll get you a little package of ice cream." I said, $1,000? And he said, "Yes, that's what it is." I said, "Well, what about a little Dove bar?" And he said, "No, it's still $1,000. So I just shook my head, and then he came over to me, over to where I was lying, and he said to me, "You're really funny." And so I thought, okay, I'll buy that one. And anyway, that was that story. But Marty made sure that I got there. He was my hero, and I sent him a note that said, "Marty, you're my hero," because I wanted him to know that he really, really was my hero and will always be my hero, that he cared that I didn't feel well and could see it and got me to the right place at the right time. And so I thank you very much for that. So it's really a sad day for me because I have so many friends here and I feel so close to so many people. But this is it. I'm kind of numb. I can't believe it's 10 years. And I'm grateful for all the faith that you've put in me and that you've showered me with attention and answered my sometimes my questions that weren't really terribly sophisticated. But this is a very complicated business. It's complicated and it's challenging. And nobody tells you that when you begin. They just say, oh, a couple of days a week you'll go down to. They don't tell you all the reading that you have to do, the countless hours that you have to put in. And then they also don't explain the acronyms. And immediately I began to ask, what does that mean? You know, and I think that was a big help when people came through with the acronym for whatever. But, you know, every business has its own acronym. And I appreciate the fact that you didn't laugh at me, but you said, okay, here's what this means. And somehow, over the years, I got more sophisticated in my questioning. And I really got to know who was who. And I appreciated that. So I want to thank everybody for their help and for their friendship. And I particularly want to thank our president, Cynthia, because she puts in more time than I have ever seen any president put into this job. It's a lot of work. And people would say to me, well, do you have a background in water and power? And I'd say, hell no. No. And so that's how I learned how to have a background, and that is just to really read and absorb everything that I was given to the best of my ability. And I am deeply honored and humbled that the mayor chose me to be on this board. I think that it was a great honor for me. And actually, he called me when I was at the fish market. And he said, hi, Jill, this is Eric. And I thought it was my son, Eric. And I said, oh, hi, honey. How are you? And we had a nice, talk. And he was just a good friend all these years. So I want to thank him as well, and thank everybody for being here for me, and for your very, very kind remarks today. Thank you.
Thank you. A couple of things before we take this item up. First, is there any public comment on this item? Board Secretary? Okay, terrific. Then I would like to move the resolution forward for a vote. I would also like to note Marty's commitment to Commissioner BARAD Hopkins with respect to leaning in on issues related to women and women in non-traditional jobs, and to promise her that we will hold him to that, as we have still quite a bit of work to do in that regard. I'd like to move passage of item K19.
Second.
Would you please take the roll?
Commissioner BARAD Hopkins.
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER.
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL.
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady.
Aye.
Vice President RUIZ.
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted unanimously.
Thank you. And with that, we will move to item C on the agenda, general public comment.
Good morning, speakers. Please be mindful that you will have 2 minutes for public comment. The first and only speaker is Ms. Ann Kim.
To the microphone.
All right. Hello. And congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ann Kim. I'm here to represent AIDS Healthcare Foundation. I believe some of my colleagues have spoken via public comment by phone, but I know now it's in person, so I wanted to come here to ask you to work with us. The homeless count was just released, almost 42,000 in the city of LA, almost 70,000 in the county of LA. Rental rates are only going to go up as interest rates go up. And, you know, the eviction moratorium and the rental assistance is going to be running out. We have 1,200 units, almost 1,200 units here in Los Angeles. And the median rent that we charge is $550 a month. Unheard of. But the utilities that we pay on each unit is $85 a month. So do that math really quick. That's 15% of the rent that we collect that goes to utilities on units that are somewhere around 150 square feet. Maybe most of them are below 200 square feet. Please work with us. I know you have programs. You have the Lifeline program for disadvantaged residents. I know you offer them to these folks. These are the very people that we serve here in the city of LA. We have people on SSI, limited fixed income, SSDI, folks that are earning very low wages. These are the people that need your help. We have to work together. So please help us, collaborate with us, color outside the lines. You know, it doesn't have to be a ready-made program. Let's do something special. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate those comments. We will now move to item D, the report from the general manager.
Thank you very much. Just a few brief things. Actually, I'll give the non-brief one first. I'm going to turn over to Brian Wilbur to quickly talk about the status of the power system during the heat storm and just how we did, as well as the following rain and wind that we encountered, which power was as much of a challenge as the heat was. So, Brian, go ahead.
Thank you, Marty. Real quick, in case you didn't notice, we had a heat storm over the last 2 weeks. Things got a little hot.
Can I make a quick comment? Right, go ahead. Apparently, I invented the word heat storm, just for the record. So I said this in an interview a few years ago, and someone said, "Is that really a term?" I said, "Yeah, it is." And it's been in the news ever since. So I just want to take credit. I had a moment, so go ahead. Right?
So essentially, during this heat event, starting on August 31st, you know, we had prepared for this, right, and we were essentially ready, and we've been working with the state and the Cal ISO, right, on looking and being summer readiness. But before this heat event started, we started off with a fire at Castaic. This burned about 5,100 acres, and it was literally just next to our power plant. If you look in the picture here, you can see Castaic power plant off to the right. and that's the fire that was burning next to it. Along that, right in the path of the fire, is our transmission lines that come from Castaic Power Plant. We have 3 lines that go down to our Haskell Canyon switching station that were along that path. So it's sort of just adjacent to the 5 freeway. Burned a total, 5,200 acres, right? It's all contained now, but you can see from some of the pictures how close this got to the power plant. And not only was it a little precarious there, it also stranded all of our employees there. So they could not get in or out. We could not get relief crews in. So part of the issues that we had is essentially housing our people there, letting them work 24-hour shifts until we could get in and out safely. The real issue that we had, though, is the fire, the smoke caused damage to the lines, or essentially relayed out those 3 transmission lines. So we have 3 lines, the Castaic Haskell 1 and 2 and the Castaic Northridge line 1. They all relayed during the fire. So immediately when that relayed, we brought on lines from Hoover to supplement our load from our Haynes generating station and from our Scattergood generating station.
Can I ask, what's the Hoover coming online? What, if any, impact did that have on water? So
essentially what we'll have is spinning reserves coming in, right? And so we'll add that capacity to this line coming in. So to make up for, so Hoover comes in at a different path. Yeah. So the pathway coming in from Castaic when that was restricted, right? So all we did was put generation online for that.
So it wasn't an incremental Hoover generation. It was an incremental request on the Hoover generation.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, and very similar to the units at Scattergood and Haynes. Okay. So if you look at that pathway that comes in when that fire started, essentially we brought in that extra capacity from Hoover first, then Scattergood, then Haynes to supplement our load from there. Right, and so that's our reserves that are coming online. The outage was not tremendously long, so we were able to get Castaic back online, right, and continue to generate from Castaic. Along with that, from the fire, we lost a 4160 line, which controls the pumps up at the Castaic, up at the reservoir. We lost 16 poles, burned a lot of wire to the ground. So we still have work that we're doing up there to restore that line. So here's a couple quick pictures so you can see the results of the fire. This is our distribution line that feeds the pumps. So right thereafter, the next day, right after the control of the fire, right, the heat really started to set in. And so looking at on the bulk power side of that, like I said, we had been working with the CalISO and with the state for our summer readiness. But our big concern is that we have enough load to handle the citizens of Los Angeles, right, and our own load. When we look specifically, right, we had some of our highest loads moving forward. We had well over 5,000 megawatts on our peak starting on the 1st. Continue through that weekend. We were able to supply some of our surplus to the California ISO during that time. The following week on Monday, we, which was one of the biggest loads for the state, we were able to assist them with our overgeneration to supply the state to help bail out, to keep from rolling blackouts from the rest of the state. Like I said, we're vertically integrated. We do not have the same flex alerts or issues that the state did. We were able to supply enough load for ourselves and still had enough reserves to help out. So on Tuesday the 6th, that was our highest load for the year so far. We were over 6,000 megawatts, and that was our biggest challenge. We were still able to cover our own loads and supply for the state at their peak. One of the advantages that we have is our peak is a couple hours earlier than the state's peak. So as we're ramping down, they are still ramping up. And so that availability at their peak, we have extras because we are still ramping down at that point.
Brian, how does that peak compare to the highest load we've ever had?
Yeah.
So we're still 2017, right? We were at 6,500. So
Yeah, because the state broke a record that day.
the state did break a record that day, right? But we're still not at our peak here that we've had in Los Angeles before, right?
Yeah, this contribution is huge. Really, the magnitude should not be understated. Not just the size of it, but also what it did for the state in relieving its stresses. So, I mean, in many ways, not just were we resilient to LA, we help the state be resilient. So this is quite an accomplishment.
It's a great accomplishment. It's a testament to how we've prepared for this and moving forward. And we keep, a healthy reserve really for a contingency like the Cascade Fire. So we have enough for our N-1, which is our biggest catastrophe that could happen. We have enough reserves for that. And so, that not happening, we're able to give that to the state because we have that as a spending reserve going.
So I have a quick question, though, about the contribution to the state. What does that require us to, have generation happening everywhere? So for instance, do we bring Valley online to make sure that we're able to do that?
Yes, so when we have the capacity, we are able to bring more online to assist them. But we have the reserves for our own contingencies, plus for the fluctuation of the renewables. So solar and wind, because it's flexible, clouds come over, right, it goes down. So we keep a spinning reserve for that also to keep continuity in our system. So we have that as a reserve during the peak of our renewables. And then as it comes down in the evenings, right, and we lose our solar and our heat, we have that reserve still available. So this is all that we have ready to go for our own use. And then we'll give that to the state as needed for their loads.
Okay, but I just want to make sure that I'm really clear about, and I'm not suggesting that I disagree with the department stepping up to prevent what is a mitigated disaster when we have blackouts throughout the state. But I just want to understand who or how our system is operating, because I know as a general matter, we work very hard to reduce operations of some of our more efficient or inefficient facilities, and that Valley is the least efficient. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so my question is, during these periods where it's all hands on deck, and again, all hands on deck is certainly the overarching or overriding imperative, are we during those periods operating Valley generation or the Valley station more than we would otherwise?
So in this particular case, so we had units at Valley essentially ready to go. And so we started up units during the Cascade Fire just to have it available for that next contingency. But we normally won't run our inefficient units. The same with Scattergood 1 and 2, right, where you have that long startup time. It's really not beneficial to the state because they're looking for something that's very quickly dispatchable. So most of our units that are running for our reserves are quickly dispatchable that we can give to the state. Our next contingency would be to fire up those less efficient units at that point.
Let me ask the question differently.
Okay.
Would we not run those facilities? Were we not also backing up the state? Or would we be running them in any event just to make sure that we had contingency for ourselves?
So we would be running them for contingency for ourselves, right, if we were going to pull those up.
But in this instance, they ran for the benefit of the state.
For the help of the state, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Look, there is LA has solid reserves, and, I always want you to remind me of this instance when I give you a hard time about having a little too much reserves. But the danger is more that the state begins to rely on us.
Right.
That's the danger.
I mean, it's and I raise these questions because we've got a lot in front of us, both regionally and statewide. And we have a lot of conversations about burden and equity. And it's when the rubber meets the road and you've got competing interests that those conversations get real. And it is important for us to understand that we provide assistance at a cost to our own residents that is perceived as deeply negative. And we want to be clear about that as we think about, how we move forward and as we work with the state in connection with how they move forward. And so I just didn't want to not raise that at this time.
Yeah, and to clarify, I'm sure there was economic benefit. So the economics of running the units were undoubtedly met, unless you tell me otherwise. But there are a lot other implications than the economic benefit we derive from supporting the city.
And I think in that sense, and something I'd like to bring to the board is a regular policy that when we run these units, the state sets a price, and it's a considerable price for power when we bring it on. And I think it was even on Sunday or Monday morning, the governor, in his comments on his regular meeting, thanked Los Angeles for making sure there weren't rolling blackouts in the state the previous day. But with that extra money that's generated from the sale of this is a intentional plan to make sure there's investment back in the communities where generation happens. I think it's an important thing to make sure there's equity, so that if we have extra funds because of running the units extra, that we make sure we don't forget the communities where those units were operating. So something I'd like to discuss further with the board about how we make that more concrete and an intentional plan of our spending and what to do with those extra revenues and how to invest them where they need to be invested in the communities.
Thank you. I look forward to that conversation. Sorry, Brian, I didn't mean to interrupt your presentation.
And so, Brian, I do have a comment. I want to go back to, you were talking about the Castaic fire. I know Commissioner Lear and myself over the summer got a chance to go visit the Castaic power plant. And, you know, it's a little alarming to hear that they were trapped there and that they were working 24 hours. So I would just like to ask you to go back and express, I can only speak for myself, my gratitude to the hardworking employees there, because we got a chance to meet with them and talk with them, and you can just see the dedication that they have. And the fact that they got trapped and they were stuck there and they continue to work is pretty amazing. So please give them my gratitude for that.
Thank you very much. And I know they'll appreciate that. And all of our plant workers, right, they take a lot of pride in what they do. Castaic's kind of the jewel in our crown, and the people that do work there are very proud. It's a little bit out of the way. They travel a little extra to be there, and they take a lot of pride in keeping that plant running,
And I
being
agree.
efficient.
Please send them our regards.
Definitely, definitely. So away from the bulk power side of it, the distribution side of it, right, where really the rubber meets the road for the citizens that are here. We did prepare for this one a little bit differently. We're getting more crews available both on our station and our operations side, as well as our transmission distribution side. We went to a level 2 operations very quickly, even though our numbers didn't get astronomically high for outages. We brought in the extra personnel. Our trouble section was on 16-hour shifts. Our distribution crews, we put on rotating 12-hour shifts so we could bring crews in at midnight to handle the overload in the evenings. The difference when these heat events go through the night, where our transformers and our system doesn't have a chance to cool down, as the days progress, it normally gets worse and worse. We were able to really effectively mitigate a lot of those hazards, keeping the transformers cool. The station guys went out there cooling things off. Our distribution crews, right, work continuously on this. It was really kind of a testament to how the three groups really work together moving forward to attack this specific heat issue. As this went on, you know, day after day after day, we did have a lot of outages. We did have a lot of transformers that were out, but our numbers remained fairly low because we had enough personnel out there changing out transformers, picking up down wire and things like that. So we had a lot of crews working this weekend. They worked through the holiday weekend, continued shift, 24-hour shifts all week long, and through last weekend also.
Through the heat. They had to bear the heat.
Through the heat, and you know, that's a lot of issues too, right? Being able to make sure everybody stays hydrated.
Carrying all of that equipment as
And being safe.
Yes, and being safe as they are doing the work. It's something to behold.
Yes, and even the arc-rated clothing, if you've worn it for any length of time, it doesn't exactly breathe very well. It protects you tremendously, but it's not the coolest thing in the world to wear. So we are very diligent in our heat illnesses and our education for our folks, making sure that they get enough water and places to cool down and get a rest period in between. But the crews did a really fantastic job. We had a lot of underground issues, we had a lot of overhead issues, but really working nonstop. And so I have a couple pictures here, just some of the crews out in the field that were working. like I said, and you can see in some of these pictures, some of the damage when the overloaded cables get in, it's quite messy. The underground is obviously a lot more issues to replace cable and reinstall cable. The outages tend to be a little bit longer, but the crews did a fantastic job getting together, getting the station work done and getting the distribution work done.
You didn't have many outages, but were the durations of the ones that you did longer than typical?
No, because most of them were smaller distribution transformers, not station transformers, or feeder systems. So when we get back towards the station, the outages tend to be longer because when one circuit's overloaded, they're all overloaded to an extent, and so your options go away quite quickly. The smaller transformer changeouts, it's really more important about getting the crews there. But also in the heat, we look at our outages differently. It's the oldest ones we want to get done first. In the rain, in the wind, it's a little bit different. We want to get the large areas back on. We want to get our bulk system back on, our feeder system back on quickly. It affects the most customers, and so we concentrate things a little bit differently. In the heat, the longer people are out, the more detrimental it is to them, and so we really concentrate on the oldest ones first. And so we have shorter outages because we're attacking the problems that have been going on the longest first.
Yeah, the only long outage we had was one in Los Feliz with the underground. That was a lot of cable pulling and a lot of parts replacement, but difficult to get to.
Right. Yeah, that was definitely our biggest problem.
Yeah, there was a lot of press on that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
No pictures of the water hoses?
The water hoses on the transformers. No, I'm still bringing a lot of the pictures in, and so maybe for the next meeting I could have a little more of a gallery.
No, appreciate it. Thank you.
The guys working are not quite photographers. They're more concentrated on the work going on. So when I ask for pictures, they kind of look at me sideways a little bit.
Well, I was going to say in that regard that in addition to the folks that we see in the photographs, I know that there are a whole lot of people supporting that work.
Yes.
In dispatch and just all across the department that are out there that are making this happen. And so we do want to recognize all of their efforts. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I do want to thank Brian and the power system, the folks, as you said, we're all at home inside trying to stay cool, and they're out there in the heat round the clock. And Brian and his team did a great job of staffing up for this. And so our outages were considerably small. I don't think we ever hardly maybe once exceeded 3,000 customers out at one time, which is remarkable. And a number of days we'd wake up in the morning and just be a few hundred people, which is not unusual. So they did a good testament to Brian and his crew and really preparing for this out for this.
Yeah. And realistically, our larger numbers came after the heat was done and the rain came in. It kind of put an exclamation point on the end of the outage there. So we did have a lot more issues over the weekend with the rain caused, and a lot of that is broken crossarms, broken trees. The majority of our outages were due to trees and crossarms failing.
Yeah. First rain and wind of the season and all. Everything's loose, comes down.
One.
Yeah. Dave, can you give us a very brief presentation on how we are with water conservation, since that's the other thing that's big in the news?
Yes. So in August, the customers continue to really respond well, which has been very helpful. So our demands for August are down about 10% lower than they were this time last year, which is quite an accomplishment. And we've seen record low demand for this month in August, last month, even though this year has been hotter than last year by 5 degrees. So with all those things running against us, the customers are still doing a great job in conservation. Our rolling 12-month GPCD has dropped down to 110.7 gallons per person per day. This time last year it was 112.5. So essentially a couple of gallons per person per day reduction since this time last year, which is also quite an accomplishment. Our water crews, these are our crews that go out and make sure people are following the ordinance. This time of the year, they've written 2,350 citations, and they've followed up on 2,350 complaints, and they've written 90 citations for people. So you can see the vast majority of their work is educating the public, but they're very active in the field. And we're continuing to look at the dry expectation for next year and see what we can do to respond to that. We're looking at all of our supply options locally, maximize our groundwater production in the LA Aqueduct, our conservation, and then we also have our SHIFT program where we're trying to move our demands onto Colorado River water and off-state water project water, which is really depleted. But for next year, Metropolitan is going to have some supplies on the state water project that we'll have access to, and then we're also working with the DWR to develop a request to the DWR for human health and safety water, which we are receiving now, and we will hopefully be able to continue to receive that into next year. And then finally, I would like to say that in response to the heat storm, we have been having our distribution field crews only do physical work in the field for the first half of their shift during those really hot periods. And we're talking degrees of up to 120 degrees that they're dealing with. So that's how we're managing the heat storm, and I think I'll stop there, Marty.
Thank you, Dave. So just very briefly, a couple of more quick things. First of all, September is Emergency Preparedness Month. This is something sponsored by the Department of Homeland Security, and so we've always done a seminar during September to help us be prepared. And so on September 15th, our Office of Emergency Management is hosting a webinar entitled "A Lasting Legacy, the Life You Built is Worth Protecting," and that's to help people be prepared with themselves and their families for emergency. And we encourage our employees to tune into that. Also, from September 15th, October 15th is Hispanic Heritage Month, and this year's theme is inclusivity for a stronger nation. And we have a number of events planned, some sponsored by Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. And we'll be having October 12th. There's a seminar going to be online, and I know Vice President RUIZ will be as part of that. And so we'll have more bulletins about that for all of our employees and the board members. Also, I'd like to let the board know that the department was recognized by Forbes in their 2022 survey as one of America's best employers for women. And we had a national ranking as one of the top employers for women, as well as one of the best in the state of California. They looked at our workforce, partnership with labor, commitment to fair wages, employee benefits, and creating path for women in the workplace. And so, as we know, we have a lot of work to do in this area and a lot of goals in this area, but it's encouraging to be recognized by a known publication as having made strides in this area. And I can say, if they think we did good in 2022, wait till they see 2023. So we have a lot to work toward. Also at LABC, we received a recognition last Wednesday for the Red Cloud Wind Project. It was a Renewable Energy Leaders Award tied to the LABC Sustainability Summit on Thursday. And so they recognized the department as well as the developer for that project, as well as officials from the state of New Mexico. And lastly, I'd like to recognize Erin Henning. Erin, where are you hiding over there? Erin was recognized as she received the Woman of the Year Award in Supplier Diversity from the Latin Business Association. And the Latin Business Association is dedicated to supporting and uplifting Latino businesses nationwide. And they presented this award to her, highlighting her work in promoting diversity and opportunity in contracting. And Erin, like to just let you tell us about the award. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marty. So I was surprised. They asked me to speak at their conference. And I was surprised by the award that they would recognize me as the Woman of the Year for the Latin Business Association. One, I'm not Latino, but I'm very honored. This is a personal passion of mine to help small businesses, women-owned businesses, and I know that's right in alignment with the board. So I'm very honored to represent the department and the face for my entire team on supplier diversity. So thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations, Erin. I forgot I had one last thing. There's a PS. Joe Romalo asked me to let the board know that on Friday at the Mid-Valley Senior Center, we'll be kicking off the COOL program, and that's Friday morning. I know Commission President McCLAIN-HILL will be there, and I know some of the other board members may join us as well, along with Council President Martinez and the mayor. This will be a big kickoff toward launching our programs, including air conditioner rebates. I think you have a couple air conditioners to give away, helping seniors, low-income, and lifeline customers to help with the deal with climate change and to do our role in helping help people survive and be comfortable in their homes. So that'll kick off on Friday morning. That's the conclusion.
Perfect. Commissioner Blair.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to sort of share that at the LADC Sustainability Summit for a regional, which was called the Regional Momentum Towards a Clean Energy Future. It was the conversation was emceed by Sam Roth from the LA Times. And Marty Adams was there from DWP, Alice Reynolds from CPVC, Stacy Crowley from CAISO, Natasha Kiefer from Clean Power Alliance, and Tom Buttengagen, CEO of 8 Mile, what?
8 minutes.
8 minute.
8 Minute Energy. So it was a conversation that was starting to sort of perhaps go in a negative route of how long things are taking to happen, because a lot of the representatives were working with public agencies that perhaps were not so effective. But where it turned into a nice applause was when there was this conversation where about does the private sector do a better job at managing than the public sector, and so LADWP and Marty Adams in particular got a big sort of recognition from Sam Roth and others as like DWP operates like a private business. They know how to manage operations and how to keep things moving along and how to really, be successful. So I just wanted to share that. And there was a lot of applause, and hopefully, as Marty and I were talking earlier, it'd be nice to get the tape from Sam Roth, to have a tape of what Sam Roth says, so maybe he'll write a nice article.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, thank you for letting me share.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments regarding the general manager's report? Then we'll move to item E. I'm not aware of any introductions and motions by commissioners at this time. Comments from ratepayer advocates. Item F, Dr. Pickle.
We're going to follow, we support item 2, but we will be having follow-up staff questions with the staff on some of the aspects of additional features that need to be discussed in this area.
All right. Thank you. I'm looking at item G. It appears that we've got one community impact statement. Board Secretary.
One community impact statement was received from the Central San Pedro Neighborhood Council. No representatives from this council were here to speak. This community impact statement has been published on LADWP.com for public record and was included in the commissioner's briefing materials.
Terrific, thank you. So we will then move to item H, items recommended for approval. Before taking the item H, are there items that that any commissioner would like called special? At first, I'm looking at K5, which I understand is going to be deferred, and K11, which is also going to be deferred.
Yes.
We've taken up item K19.
Madam President,
Item
I'd like to.
K1.
Yeah, K1 special.
Is calling special.
1.
Are there any other items that people would like to? Are there any other items that we that people would like to hear before we take up the consent agenda? So then I would like to move to approve items K2, K3, K4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Is there a second?
Second.
Call the roll.
Commissioner Barad Hopkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Lehrer, President McCLAIN-HILL,
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady,
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz,
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. We've got no filed items. So we'll move to the minutes. And I understand that with respect to item J1, we've got a technical correction. Commissioner NEEMAN Brady apparently is listed as the board vice president. So we will update and correct.
Page 4. Yep.
On page 4, we'll update and correct that. With the exception of that update, is there a motion to approve?
So
items
moved.
J? Thank you.
Move as corrected.
Second. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barad Hopkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Lehrer,
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL,
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady,
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz,
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. Item K1, Commissioner Ruiz, you call that item special. Would you like the presentation?
So the reason I called this special, not that I have any issues with this particular item, I just wanted to acknowledge staff. This is a great example of collaboration, and I know that it's not always easy to collaborate. This is a collaboration between the City of Long Beach, the City of Los Angeles, and DWP. And I just think that I wanted to call it special to acknowledge the work that staff has done. I know that a lot of times it looks easy on paper, but to get to a point of collaboration with other agencies is not always easy. And I think especially in this situation, when we're looking at this, the water and power, knows no boundaries, right? So the more collaboration that we have with other agencies, I really do believe that it's in our best interest. So I just wanted to call it special to say thank you to staff. I know Nancy Sutley is not available today, but did you want to come up and say anything about the process or about this project? Just briefly, because I think it's great. And I think, I feel like we should reward good behavior, and I just wanted to thank you for your work with the other agencies, which I know wasn't easy.
Thank you, Commissioner Ruiz, and it's a pleasure to be here. Commissioner President McCLAIN-HILL and Commissioners NEEMAN, Brady, Lehrer, and BARAD. This has been a project actually 20 years in the making.
Oh, I didn't know it was that long.
The power system, the water system, everybody has been trying to get Long Beach, collaborate with Long Beach for a very long time. And even before that, we've been wanting to figure out a way to reroute our process waste streams so that we weren't discharging them to the San Gabriel River, but getting them to a reclamation plant. We finally, here we are today in the worst drought ever. We now have a mandate to eliminate once through cooling. And on top of that, the regulations for our discharge to the San Gabriel River are changing. And we have finally come to a great collaboration, as you were saying, Commissioner Ruiz, with the Long Beach Water Department that's going to meet all of these needs, and we're very, very happy with that. So thank you very much for recognizing it, and we appreciate it.
And with that, I'd like to move approval of the item.
I'll second.
Commissioner Barad Hopkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Lehrer,
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL,
Aye.
Commissioner NEEMAN Brady,
Aye.
Vice President Ruiz,
Aye.
5 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. That brings us to the conclusion of our open session agenda, unless I've missed something. You look like you were in a state of shock.
No, I was thinking of 5 and 11, but they're deferred. I apologize.
Okay, good. Then I just thought you were paying attention to the time, and that's what had caused you to say, are you really? But in any event, prior to moving into closed session, we'll go to our counsel for the transition.
Thank you. The board shall recess into closed session. The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon, in accordance with Section 54957.1 of the California Government Code.
I think that's terrific. So we'll go into closed session at this time. Anyone not needed for closed session, if you would leave our room, I think we'll just stay in this room and conclude and do it from here. Thank you.